Hey everybody, this is Christy Furio with Keys to the Shop, and welcome to another edition of Shift Break. Happy Valentine's Day to you, and I hope you have had a great week. Today we are going to be talking about feedback, in particular feedback that is a part of your culture, the culture of your operation, and not just something that's sought after in fits and starts every time you feel convicted by a leadership book or a podcast or something. Communication down the chain of authority is pretty easy and necessary, but it's pretty easy to do. You know, a boss tells an employee to do something, and the employee expects to be told what to do. Communication going back up is not so easy, and it's not so clear what that path looks like. This is true for both employees and customers, because both of them are being given something, either directives as an employee, or they're being given menu items that kind of dictate their next moves. In either case, it's like if you're an employee or if you're a customer, you kind of know what's expected of you and you follow suit. But it's really unclear in most situations how to proceed if, instead of receiving communication, you want to give it. So where does a customer go to give feedback about their experience? What about the staff giving feedback about their experience? Customers and staff basically have the same problem of not knowing where to put those communications, be they grievances or even just encouragements of things that they think are going well or creative ideas that they have. Any communication that they have that has to kind of go to the leadership of the cafe or to the cafe itself, as if you're a customer, they don't know what that looks like because we've left that part undesigned. We've not made much room for feedback being a part of our culture. We've just kind of made room for expressing who we are to everybody and dictating, right? So in the absence of a system within the company for people to use to give feedback, people turn to systems outside of it. So customers will turn to things like Yelp. Of course, they have each other, so they talk to each other, and the word of mouth spreads quickly. But Yelp is a result of people needing a place to express their disappointments in a way, or to lavish praise on a place. But in particular, I think it's interesting that a place like Yelp might not have as much power as it does if it was true that we actually had a culture where feedback was sought after and valued in the coffee shop. And with barista, the outside system looks like themselves. So if they don't feel like they have a good line of communication to the manager or the owner or anything like that, they turn to each other, talk about things that they would never talk about or bring up with management. And this is basically a trust issue, and it's an approachability issue that can be solved by creating a feedback culture for both sets of very important people, your customers and your baristas, your staff. So usually we're really just so busy that without realizing it, we stifle the flow of communication. And that busyness just sends a signal that we don't have time for your feedback. We have time to tell you what to do. We have time to direct you and give you options and let you make that next intuitive move. But the path for feedback is kind of left vague. And I think that's something that we need to fix, because we're leaving a lot on the table in terms of what can be gained from the feedback that customers and staff have for us. So for kind of creating a culture of feedback for your customers, where they feel comfortable in conversation with you about the good and the bad, you have to first start by asking them directly about their experience on a regular basis. And, train all of your staff to do the same thing. Years and years and years ago, I wrote a blog, open letter to Specialty Coffee about service. And it was so long ago. One barista was incensed that I would dare even suggest that we ask customers what they thought about the coffee. The whole reason why this barista was upset was because he said, we are the experts in coffee, and they don't know anything about coffee, basically, summarizing his post. So why would we kind of trust their palates and trust their opinion of something that we're the experts in. It's such an elitist type of mentality, and I'm thankful that there aren't as many people with that mentality around these days, although I know there probably are some. But you should be asking your customers about their experience and how it was. And as you do it genuinely and often, with curiosity, you'll see people maybe open up and they'll talk to you about it. And that's wonderful, because now you know what's actually happening with that person's experience. You can make adjustments, or you can just keep on going the way you are, knowing that you're doing a great job. So another way that you can create this feedback culture for customers is by really using the POS system's feedback function in an active way. A lot of POS systems, I'm thinking in particular of Square, have a feedback function where they ask you to rate your experience with a happy face or a frowny face and explain. Those go right to the business. And a lot of managers will just collect those and monitor it. And one thing that you can do, I think, that to go the extra mile is to interact with the people. Interact with them, because there's a way that you can send messages back that thanks them for their feedback, thanks them for coming to the shop. And just that little gesture goes a long way. People aren't expecting to have a person at the other end of those things. And I've even gotten into some great conversations with people all on the back end of Square's analytics and the feedback. So definitely get engaged with that and interact with them on the back end. You should also share positive feedback with baristas as customers leave them on those systems. And you should take their negative feedback seriously. Bring them to the management team and take a look into what's going on with the quality or the service or whatever the issue is, and let the customer know that you're taking it seriously as well. Another thing that you can do here is that you can engage with people on Yelp. Like I said in the beginning, Yelp is a place where people go to express what they don't think they can express in the cafe. And we want to try to walk that back a little bit. And one way is to kind of go where they are. Owners that have accounts and pop up on the screen underneath Yelp comments can either burn bridges or build them. And I love when I see an owner graciously engage with a customer who's less than satisfied. I love it when I see them graciously engage with customers who are very satisfied. It's not the greatest when they get on there and they're super defensive and very belligerent. Now, there are times, obviously, where people on Yelp can be the worst. I'm not denying that. And in the cases where the staff need to be defended, I would encourage you, do so, but also do it in a gracious way, in taking the high road, so to speak. But engaging with your customers on Yelp, I think, is a great step in showing them that you are actively concerned with their opinion. A lot of this just has to do with how you treat people, how you converse with them, and if you're really interested in their opinions in the course of business daily. So you should have a staff that are genuinely interested in serving people and making sure that their needs are being met. It means that you ask them, you listen to what they're saying, and you make that a part of what you do every day. Now, as it relates to baristas, I would say ask them for their opinion and their feedback. Yes, but keep asking. Don't just make it a one-time thing where it's a special 360 review process and you're going to hand out an anonymous form and it happens like once a year. That's fine. I mean, but it should be a part of a larger context, a consistent experience of management and leadership reaching out for the feedback, seriously reaching out for the feedback of the people on the ground, basically running the cafe and taking their opinions seriously. And I say keep asking because it's easy to forget to do. So you have to really schedule it. You have to make it a part of your week and put it on the calendar, or else it's probably not going to get done because things tend to get pushed onto the back burner very easily. You've got to clarify for your baristas and staff that you are genuinely interested in what they think. And don't be defensive when they tell you. Because as soon as you're defensive about what they tell you, that's the last time they're going to tell you anything. because you can fire them. So you have to remember that in your interactions and create inroads for communication going up the chain of authority. And then finally, I would say part of this is not just asking for feedback, but actively asking for input and having the group participate in the formation of new cafe initiatives. So taking part in the things that they will have to be responsible for in the future, helping them shape their own reality. That's a trust move. That's a relationship building move. And it makes people feel a lot safer to express what they feel and what they're experiencing, be it positive or negative. So there are some things that I think that will help your customers and your baristas give you feedback that is very, very valuable. Don't let your pride get in the way. Don't get afraid of hearing things that you don't want to hear, or hearing other people say things that you already know are true, but you just don't want to hear them say it because it would make it mean that you have to do something about it. There's a lot of pride and ego that comes with authority, and the cafe is not immune to that. So just be on the lookout. If you're resistant to feedback from your baristas and your customers, that might be something that you need to check. And there's a lot of latent feedback out there waiting for us that we have to tap into and make it a part of how we do things, the culture, the structure of our operation. Sometimes it'll be hard, sometimes it'll be amazing and encouraging, but in both cases, we'll be the better for making room for it in our shop. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode and that it helped you on the road to create the kind of feedback culture that will grow you and your business. And I will see you here next week for another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.